Hi everyone, in today's video I have a lot of different immigration updates to share with you. The Senate confirmed a new secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. In addition, President Biden signed 3 executive orders targeting immigration. In this video, I'm going to discuss the important details that you need to know about, so stick around. Hi everyone, my name is Michael Ashoori and I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer based in Los Angeles, California. At my law firm, we regularly post videos to make sure that you're up to date with the latest immigration news. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, give this video a big thumbs up so that YouTube knows to share this information with more people. As I mentioned, in today's video, I have a number of different immigration updates to share with you. On Tuesday, the Senate confirmed a new secretary for the Department of Homeland Security. We're going to discuss that. In addition, President Biden signed 3 separate executive orders targeting immigration. We're going to go through each of those executive orders. So let's get started. So as I mentioned in an earlier video, it appears that President Biden was waiting to get his pick to lead the Department of Homeland Security confirmed by the Senate before he proceeded with various immigration executive orders that he was planning to sign. Well, on Tuesday, Alejandro Mayorkas was confirmed by the Senate to serve as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, Secretary Mayorkas is the first Latino to act as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, let's go to my screen and go over these executive orders. So if you take a look at my screen, we're currently on the official White House website. Specifically, we're on the section of the website that lists the various executive orders that were signed. And here we have 3 separate executive orders that were signed yesterday. As you can see, the date, February 2nd, 2021, on all 3 of these latest executive orders. So I want to go through each of these executive orders with you. We'll start with this one. And as you can see, this executive order is titled Executive Order on Restoring Faith in Our Legal Immigration Systems and Strengthening Integration and Inclusion Efforts for New Americans. Now, this executive order does a lot of different things that are quite significant. For one, the executive order seeks to create strategies to better welcome and integrate new Americans. In addition, this executive order calls for a review on existing immigration regulations and policies to identify policies that are hampering legal immigration. In addition, the executive order specifically calls for a thorough review of the public charge rule, and it calls for the appropriate body that's reviewing the public charge rule to suggest any changes to the public charge rule. In addition, something that's very significant is that this executive order calls for a complete improvement of the naturalization process. Everything from the form N-400 to the fingerprinting process to the way that various interviews are conducted to the civics and English language test to the oath of allegiance. Basically, this executive order calls for a complete improvement to the naturalization process. The executive order also calls to substantially reduce the processing time for naturalization application. So basically to speed up the process for somebody to get citizenship once they've applied for naturalization. In addition, the executive order mentions potentially reducing the fee for naturalization and to potentially restore fee waivers for people that are eligible. Additionally, the executive order calls for a review of denaturalization. So denaturalization is the process where somebody could potentially lose their citizenship. This executive order calls for a complete review of denaturalization to make sure that it's not being done excessively. So let's go to one of the other executive orders. Let's go to this one. And this executive order is called Executive Order on Creating a Comprehensive Regional Framework to Address the Cause of Migration, to Manage Migration throughout North and Central America, and to provide safe and orderly processing of asylum seekers at the United States border. Now, this executive order also does a lot, but for purposes of giving you a quick summary, I want to show you a section of the executive order that does a great job of summarizing the contents of the executive order. So if you look at the section that I've highlighted, it basically says, my administration will implement a multi-pronged approach toward managing managing migration throughout North and Central America that reflects the nation's highest values. We will work closely with civil society, international organizations, and the governments in the region to establish a comprehensive strategy for addressing the causes of migration in the region, build, strengthen, and expand Central and North American countries' asylum systems and resettlement capacity, and increase opportunities for vulnerable populations to apply for protection closer to home. At the same time, the U.S. will enhance lawful pathways for migration to this country and will restore and strengthen our own asylum system. So there's a lot to kind of go over there, but basically this executive order calls to vastly improve our own asylum system. In addition, the executive order calls to identify and work on various issues that are taking place in Central and North America, which are causing so many people to flee their homes. Let's go over the final executive order. And this executive order is called Executive Order on the Establishment of Interagency Task Force on the Reunification of Family. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that the Biden administration has discussed creating a task force to deal with the situation of children that have been separated from their families at the southern border. And this is basically what this executive order does. The executive order establishes a task force for reunification of families, and the task force will be made up of various different agencies. It'll be made up of members from the Department of Homeland Security, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the Attorney General, and various others. And basically the function of this task force is going to be to identify all the children that were separated from their families at the US-Mexico border and to facilitate a reunification of these families. The task force will provide recommendations to the appropriate agencies for how to accomplish the reunification of these families, potentially through the issuance of parole, through the issuance of visas or other immigration benefits. In addition, the task force potentially could also suggest providing psychological support to the children and their families. So just to recap, on Tuesday, the Biden administration signed 3 separate executive orders. The first executive order seeks to improve our legal immigration system and to also improve the naturalization process, to speed up the naturalization processing time, potentially reduce fees for naturalization, and to overall improve the naturalization process. The second executive order focuses on identifying various issues that are taking place in Central and South America, and to also improve our own asylum process. And the last executive order focuses on establishing a task force to help reunify children with their families that were separated at the southern border. Overall, we're seeing a lot of activity on the immigration front. However, I do expect that many people will be disappointed that the executive orders from 2020 that suspended the issuance of certain visas were not revoked. Many immigration lawyers felt that with these changes, we were going to see the presidential proclamations that were signed back in April and June of 2020 to be revoked. As of right now, they're set to expire on March 31st, 2021. But many of us were expecting that in this round of immigration changes, we were expecting that those 2 executive orders from April and June of 2020 were going to be revoked early. However, that didn't happen, and I imagine that that's going to be a source of a lot of disappointment for many people. I do want to let you know that all hope is not lost. It's still very possible that these executive orders could get revoked in the coming days and weeks ahead, and we're going to continue to monitor to see for any updates on that front. So I hope you guys liked this video and that you found it to be very informative. If you know anybody that could benefit from this information, make sure to share this video. We're all about empowering you with knowledge, so the more people that can see this video that can benefit from this information, the better. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next video.